Welcome to Easy Eats with Chef Yves. My name is Yves Duchesne. I'm the chef here at the Greener Villages Learning Kitchen, and today I've got Chef Louis Cosman here from the community kitchen. He's going to show us how to make a simple dish or something that they make at the kitchen quite often. So, Louis, welcome, and tell me a little bit about what you're going to do for us today.
Today we're going to do what we call a frosted chicken. So it's a chicken dish that can be done right out of your cupboard with some cornflakes. That's in here. Some basic seasoning, some chicken, roasted potatoes, and broccoli. And it's very much a comfort food, which is what we like to do at the kitchen because the people come in, we're trying to draw memories or create a memory at the kitchen. So we want people, when they sit for 1 hour of the day, it's a sanctuary where they enjoy their food and remember good things. So, and this would be a typical donation that somebody might bring to the door. A little bit of chicken, a little bit of broccoli, 4 or 5 potatoes. Now I'm going to show you how you can feed 5 or 6 people with a small donation.
That's perfect. Yeah, so I used to be the chef before you stepped in, so it's exactly the kind of thing that I wanted to do too. So I used to say my brunches on Saturdays was exactly that. We used to have the same spread every Saturday, and that brought people in, and they were comfortable with that, and they knew that what they were going to get, because a lot of people that come into the community kitchen, are people with different types of issues who kind of need that structure and kind of need a routine.
And a consistency.
Exactly.
Consistency, and again, structure, consistency, and we like to say over there that every action has a reaction, right?
Okay, yeah.
So if your life is in turmoil for whatever reasons that is, we're trying to offer 1 hour a day where it stays at the door. You bring it in, you sit down, you forget it, and you become a person who enjoys a decent meal for an hour. Well, and the thing at the kitchen is, now that we're open now because of COVID, before it was through a window, and it's kind of hard to put love in a styrofoam container. But now we can actually put people at tables like we used to do, sit them down, let them be people, and they can come up as many times as they want within an hour.
Exactly. Food is the great equalizer. It really is. When you sit down at a table, it's for the same purpose. It's to fill a need, and then everyone becomes the same. Yeah, that's what I loved about the community kitchen. Yeah.
Shortly after I started working there, and you were still there because Yves was one who hired me on, but I did a meal one night, and this is when I realized that I was doing what I should be doing. I should have been doing this all my life. Is that one of our guests come up to me, and I did a chicken stew, I think it was, and he said it was just like his mother's. The only thing he was missing was he couldn't smell the wood stove, and I didn't do any doughboys. And I said, I get you, brother, but I understand, and thank you so much, because that's what I try to achieve. I want them to think for an hour that life ain't that bad. It can be good, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I said, the one thing is I don't have a wood stove. I could have got some wood chips. We could have fanned that through. We could have done that. I would have. And the other thing was I didn't have time to do doughboys, so I did biscuits. He said, yeah, I know that's where you were going with it, but I just wanted to let you know. But you hit it right on. So right from that point on, I knew that I was in the right place doing what I should be doing.
You're absolutely right. It is. Yeah. It's comforting as chefs to find a place where you're cooking for the simple fact of feeding people, and people appreciate it. Because we worked in different restaurants, and it gets to a point where you're just pushing food out for a paycheck. This becomes something that we've met our purposes. So to that end, let's get started with your chicken dish, man.
It's going to be real easy. We're going to take our chicken's already done, been washed and cleaned. We take our bag, we put our...
So we're making a shake and bake, essentially.
More or less, yeah, it's a shake and bake, yeah. But then, again, at the kitchen, sometimes we have shake and bake, just your no name or your brand name shake and bake. Other times we don't. We have to make our own. And so that's when you go to the shelves and you see what we have. Normally, we always have cereal, so that's not an issue. We all have something. Sometimes I've had to use Lay's potato chips, cornflakes.
And you know what? That's a special that I used to run too in one of the restaurants I had. We used to do fish, and they just kind of like an upscale, fish and chip kind of play. But exactly, you're using whatever you have. So if you're on a tight budget, or if you're using cereal, any type of cereal,
any kind of thing at all. I mean, these are applications that can be transferred into your home rather easy, because I'm a cook, and we don't make a lot of money usually, and there have been times at the end of the month where things are kind of scarce, and this is might all you have. So how do you make it? So as far as the chef goes, this is like the best gig a guy can have, because you never have the set menu. You don't have to follow a menu. You make it up as you go.
Well, that's it. And touching on that, we were talking earlier before this, is that you're the community kitchen, so the community gives you food, you put it in your fridge, and you're basically the community's cook.
Yeah.
So it's like cooking at home. You open up the big fridge, and you say, what am I going to cook for everyone today? Yeah. And then you go from there, and that's exactly what I loved about it.
Yeah, that's one of the best things about it. And it's, my mandate, I always say, we say at the kitchen, our mandate when we wake up in the morning is I wake up in the morning, like most people, you take your shower and you shave and you look in the mirror, and my biggest thing I have to worry about is how am I going to give away free food today and change someone's life?
There you go.
That's a pretty good thing to have.
That's a beautiful attitude. All right, so now we're just going to grab this chicken, and we're just going to put it on a sheet pan, right?
Yep, just on a sheet pan.
And then for us, we set the oven to how hot to cook these up.
Anywhere, your oven depends, right? Most people's ovens, they're different than everybody else's at home. So 4 to 425. Sometimes if it's a slow oven or a low one or whatever, you go 450, but I'd watch it at 450. 425 is good.
Perfect. So yeah, I mean, 400, 450 is kind of the magic number to hold to roast meat. Yeah. So are we going to put any kind of oil on this?
Just a little splash of oil. I'll get a spoon.
Right here, sir.
Right on. That's just enough so it gives it that illusion that somebody actually hit it with a deep fryer.
You can also pan fry this if you're at home too, right?
Yeah.
If you have some limited oven space. Yeah, but you're cooking for how many people a day do we usually serve?
Body-wise, we'll have about 60, 70 people in the kitchen. Actual numbers of meals, we put out about 300 a day.
Wow. Yeah. That's gone up a lot more since the 6 years that I've been. So we've got the chicken in the oven. How long do we keep that in there for?
Roast your chicken around probably 15 to 20 minutes, and then let it set your temperature back down again and just let it stand.
Perfect.
We normally cook it in the kitchen. Probably our breasts or our pieces are usually a little bit bigger than that, so they'll go probably 20, 25 minutes, and then we hold them in a box. But here we don't have that option right now. We're just showing you how to cook. So yeah, about 20 minutes in the oven.
20 minutes, yeah. And I mean, if you want, you can just grab a probe, check it out, and you want to bring it up to your 165 or
anything past 165, 170, and then you're good.
And we'll let that chicken cook in the oven, and we'll be right back after these short messages. Welcome back to Easy Eats. We're here. We're going to be doing some roasted potatoes to go along with that frosted chicken today. So what are we doing now, Chef?
Well, what I've done right now is I've taken off the ends and we striped them, we call it. But at the kitchen, we like to do it this way just because they're flat and people have to carry a plate around. So there's a lot, a lot of people think there's not much thought in it. You just cook and put it on a plate. But believe me, because of our guests and some of our situations that we have, everything has to be figured out. So you don't want a bunch of round potatoes basically floating around the kitchen and someone
steps on it.
So this is why we do it this way. Plus they cook faster.
And then you can keep the ends for hash browns.
We can keep the ends for hash browns, or I like to pan fry them. Get a little bit of oil in a pan. We get a bunch and then we pan fry them. And then we put them in little bowls like potato chips. Throw them on the table to get rid of them.
Oh.
And then the guests think it's something. Wow, what's this?
Like salsa on the chips and salsa on the table.
Exactly.
Nice, Louis. Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah.
Just little things like that, so they understand that it's not just a community kitchen. It's a restaurant.
Yeah.
It just happens to be called the community kitchen, but we try to do everything that you would find in a restaurant. And the thing is, it's free. And anything like these little things like that would be a bonus. And then you'll see the effect of a bonus on someone's face as soon as they sit down. And you know this, what I'm talking about. It hits you right here. Because all you do is you stand on that line and you watch people eat. And like I said, it's basic stuff. It's just people have been breaking bread together since man first started walking around sticking meat in fire. Everything's been done. But when you sit there and you watch somebody and that look on their face, and they get that, wow, I can't remember the last time I had that, right? It makes everything worthwhile. And that's just for little things like this.
It's the quiet hush. You're absolutely right. When it comes down to it, it's that once everyone has their plate, it's that hustle, bustle. All of a sudden, it quiets right down, and you know you've done a good job. It was when that dining room, you can hear a pin drop,
Pin drop. Everybody's happy.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, at the end of the night, and it's going to sound strange, but this is sometimes how we guide it. And actually, you were the one who showed me this. They said, if you said to me, if you ever really want to know how you're doing here, go check the garbage can. Yeah. Because there's a garbage can where they dump their dishes. And if there's a bunch of stuff in there that's being dumped, then they didn't like your food. So if you have a light garbage can at the end of the night, then you know you're a success.
Yeah.
And believe me, if people are hungry, they'll eat. But if they don't like it, they're not going to eat.
Well,
believe me, they won't, and they'll tell you.
So roasted potatoes, super simple. We've got baby potatoes right now, but you can also use this with any type of potato, and any kind of potato works really well.
Yeah. Any kind of stout, anything that's not too soft, because they're going to be an oven roast. Anyway, some of the soft ones are better, but it all depends on who you are and what you like.
Right on. And then I see you're using the Cajun spice, but again, you're using what you have.
This is what I would find on my shelf over there. So these are these kind of things that people donate. So today we're just going to go with a little Cajun feel on the potato. Sometimes it might be just basic salt and pepper. It could be garlic. It could be honey garlic. It could be bacon onion. It could be anything. It all depends on what we have.
Absolutely.
So I'm trying to keep this one, and this is just a little veggie. That's just a veggie seasoning. Same idea. It kind of levels off the highs and the lows. And I'll just give it a mix.
Perfect. So if you were doing this at home, you could essentially get the chicken and put the potatoes in on one sheet pan and kind of do them together so you don't have the dishes. I guess us as chefs, every once in a while, we forget that there isn't someone to do dishes for us at home. So we kind of, we make more dishes than we need to, but when you're doing this at home, you definitely, this could be a sheet pan meal. Really easy to do at home, right?
You put it on a plate and feed people, make people happy.
Yeah, you would just want to build with flavors again.
Yep.
So you could do this, but if you have onions, and here at the Greener Village, if you're coming through the lineup again, this is what you see coming through a box. Is typically we have vegetables, maybe not always broccoli, but we'll have carrots. We'll have something that you can put on the sheet pan to roast. So whatever you have and whatever you can, just throw it on the sheet pan just like that.
Onions is always they're always a great flavor, and they're cheap. And it's just like Yves said, we always get onions. So there's some times where we'll get 50-pound bags of onions, the little ones, and we might get 6 or 7. So by the time we could utilize those, they're going to be soft. So what we'll do is we'll cut them off and we braise them. And we do braised onions for a vegetable. And again, that's an old school comfort food type thing.
Well, it's the umami and it makes you feel full, a nice braised onion.
And that I have to dedicate that one to my late father, because my father used to eat onions and everything, and I could never understand why, because I didn't come from the generation. And I asked him one day, Dad, I said, I see you with a Spanish onion. You're always eating onions with everything, potatoes. And he said, well, because I grew up in the Depression. Sometimes that's all we had was onions. So I come accustomed to eating onions and everything. Right? And that's we're not in a depression, but that's kind of the same mindset that we have at the kitchen. We just use what we have and try to, do the best we can.
Coming back to the kitchen when I was working there was a gentleman and it always touched me right there. He came and he shook my hand. It was my first week there. And he said, you know what? Every once in a while, all we had around the kitchen table was conversation for dinner. Yeah. He said, now I know that I can bring my family and I can come here and we can have a meal along with that conversation. Yeah. And that struck me because it was like, you're right. And for him to take his kids and bring them to the kitchen takes a lot of nerve and a lot of swallowing pride. I didn't think that I was able to do it, but after I saw it and I said, you know what, and you're serving people with dignity. Yep. And I'm happy to say that you've taken it from where I left it and brought it up to a higher level, and which is
that you can do. And like again, a lot of people take it for granted. They don't, and I understand that. But for one thing, if you have, say, 60 guests coming in, and a little thing like having 60 plates that look the same.
Absolutely.
That's just, most people go, what? What's the big deal about that? But believe me, that's a big deal. So it was last Christmas, I went over on Christmas Day and I did a Christmas dinner for the guys in the shelter because it was COVID. And it's hard to put love in styrofoam. So I went over, we did a turkey, we did the whole thing. And they all thanked me, they loved it. But the biggest thing for them was, this is where I'm getting to this point of a plate. It's a simple thing. But the biggest thing for them was, look, we get to eat off plates and we have silverware, because it was a year and a half of styrofoam and plastic.
Yeah, and that couldn't, absolutely.
And not being able to, the first word in our title over there is community, and not being able to be in a community, to sit, to bake bread, to talk, to what are you doing tonight? What are you doing next weekend? Or whatever it is. It was lost for a year and a half, 2 years.
Absolutely,
and we're getting it back now. But it's a relearning process.
Perfect. So, anyways, we'll get to the broccoli. Show us quickly how we're going to steam that broccoli. And while you're doing that, Louis, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure.
What are your credentials? I mean, you're one of the chefs at the community kitchen.
One of the chefs at the community kitchen.
Tell the people what kind of cook is cooking for the community.
Well, I have a Red Seal. I've been a Red Seal chef now for about 25, 30 years. Come this August will be 40 years I'll be in this business. I worked for restaurants, hotels. I went out west. I did the camp thing. I did institutional type cooking. I did retirement type cooking. I ran my own business for a little bit, catering. Both major hotels here in the area. I worked at those. I was executive sous chef for a couple of them. I cooked for some high-end clients. I don't want to name drop, but I've chased the dollar, the corporate dollar, all my life for, and that's the way it is. That's our business.
That is our business.
And believe me, this is a far more rewarding end to my career than I don't have to worry about that kind of thing. I don't have to be in offices for 8-9 hours a day trying to come up with budgets and meetings and make sure the numbers work. All I have to do is worry about feeding people now. We've seen a number of people in the last year or so, it's getting higher that people just can't make ends meet till the end of the month. And you touched on it, saying swallowing pride. There's a lot of people out there that wouldn't come to there because they don't want. There's a certain stigma involved. They feel like they're not a success or they failed at something because they have to come. That's what we're for. That's exactly what we're for. We're just there to help. We're not there to judge nobody. We're not in any of that. We're just there to help. If you need help to get you through from this week to next week, and you're going to be fine next week, that's fine, great. Just come on and help. Sit down and enjoy a good meal.
Well, and then I was going to touch on that as well, is sometimes we, here at the Greener Village, we run certain hours, and we don't fit or maybe they don't fit into the box that we're trying. They may be transient, so they don't have a refrigerator, and they can't do that, so that's when they come to you. But at the same time, if they happen to just, again, you need a night out, where a restaurant where you don't have to cook for yourself, and that's exactly what you guys are now, is you want to go out and treat yourself to a meal that you don't have to cook yourself because you've been hard working or doing whatever it is, then you go there. You come to us for a box, but your days that you don't feel like cooking, you go down to the kitchen.
You hit it right on the nail. That's we're trying to do that, exactly. So when you walk in that door, you can stay there for 45 minutes at night. So those 45 minutes, our mandate, our job is to make sure you're fed, make sure you got quality food, treated like you should be treated, and that there's no turmoil in that 45 minutes.
Right on. So broccoli's all chopped. We're basically going to steam it. So
just steam it,
Difference between steaming and boiling. Tell me what you prefer. I know that I like to steam mine, but if you don't have the tools, boiling works just as well.
Boiling just leaches out most of the good stuff.
The
that's
nutrients,
in it, right?
Absolutely.
Steaming obviously is better. If steaming doesn't take as long. You don't have to deal with the hot water and fooling around with the sink and getting burnt. I mean, here we go. Once we steam these, we pick this up, we put something underneath of it, and we're ready to roll.
So that's it. So to steam, all you really need is a colander,
a pot
to fit, and honestly, just 2 or 3 inches on the bottom, right there, and then.
And if you don't have this, you might, like a fry basket would work. But anything with holes in water, I mean, and these, like I said, we're trying to do things here. So you can say, we don't need people watching saying, oh, that's really easy. You got all this wonderful kitchen and these big pieces of machinery. We're trying to do things basic so you can see that you can do it at home too.
Well, that's it. I mean, and we have an oven, and if you don't have a big oven like that, it works in a toaster oven.
Oven, the new air fryers that everybody seems to be having,
absolutely,
they work great.
Yeah. So let's get those in right there.
Sure can. We'll just make sure that we get these little bite-sized.
So and that's what I was going to say. Bite-sized, they'll cook quicker, they'll cook more evenly, and then it'll easier to present and plate. And you can use a variety. Today we just have broccoli. If you're going to put carrots in with this, I would cut them a little thinner. I wouldn't go bigger, so you want them to cook at the same time, right?
Yeah. If you're going to go thicker, then obviously you'd steam your carrots first and then throw the broccoli in at the last minute, and then you need a bigger pot. But yeah, that's why when it comes to the carrots at the kitchen, we have a machine that we can run it through, and they come out, they're paper thin.
Yeah.
Right. And again, we one of our terms at the kitchen is rustic and random.
So we're just going to put a lid on these, and we're going to let them steam for about 3 to 5 minutes, give or take.
Yeah, depending on how the heat goes.
We'll test them and go from there. Welcome back to Easy Eats. Again, I have Chef Louis Cosman from the Community Kitchen, and we're going to plate up what we made today. So, like Louis was saying, this is a typical meal for the kitchen. This is kind of one of the fan favorites, if you say?
Yeah, I would say, yeah.
You guys aren't just the Community Kitchen right on Brunswick Street. You guys also do a school lunch program.
Yeah, we have.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. We have a north side outlet. We have a trailer right on Leo Hayes, and that trailer is responsible for doing school lunch program. And in that school lunch program, there's probably, give or take, anywhere between 200 to 250 sandwiches a day, 5 days a week, to go to our kids. So they get fed at lunch. And then in the summertime, we also do a backpack program. So at the end of the week, the kids that are in the program get to be able to take a backpack home with enough food to feed them, their siblings, and their family for the weekend. And so when they come back on Monday, then we get them back on lunches.
How many schools?
I think we're at about 18 to 20, and we're looking at getting a couple of more.
I know we were at 15 when I left, and so you guys have expanded.
Yeah.
Well,
we're, like I said, they're actually in the works right now. There was one school that wanted on, and then I think the school board was just trying to figure it out if they did or not. So we could be up to 20.
So when we first started the program, it was done right out of the kitchen, but we've expanded. Where you got? Well, we got a new kitchen. So where's that now?
That's over on the grounds of Leo Hayes. It's a trailer. As soon as you drive in, you'll see it. Yves was instrumental in getting that for us. Thank you very much. By the way.
No, it was my pleasure.
It's a beautiful trailer, and it's all volunteer run. We have one person that works for the kitchen that runs it over there. She guides our volunteers. She guides, which is mostly the kids, which is something to watch. When you watch kids of the same age that you're trying to help those kids.
Well, it's beautiful, isn't it?
It is
to see community, right?
And the thing I'd like to, and I have to tell you this while you're here because you were a big part of that. When we first opened that trailer, just happened to be, there was a group in town that was doing business with the province of New Brunswick that happened to be from Spain. So anyway, they wanted to come and see that trailer. So they came and they saw the trailer, they watched the operation, and they were over there on the grand opening. So I told her, I said, you come back Monday when it's going, and you'll see the piston working. So she came back Monday, and she was the same as me. I mean, it's in my heart. She was very moved by what she saw. And I said, these are kids in our community helping kids in our community that need help.
Yep.
There's no judgment here. They just want to help. Look at the faces. I said, this is something to watch. She said, would you be interested in giving us some information? We would love to start a program like this in Spain.
Wonderful.
So I said, well, of course, we're here to help. We want to help everybody, right? So I said, if it catches on, a smile will catch on. Eventually, it'll get around the world. Hopefully, we'll have more people like us thinking this way. So anyway, I said, you just contact the kitchen. She contacted the kitchen with the links. We sent her all the information. So now, I mean, it's a joke at the kitchen, but we like to say we're international now.
Well, that's
because
fantastic.
We've influenced Spain. So we said, Spain, you go to Portugal. Show them what we showed you. Portugal, you go here, and before you know it, there's not going to be any hungry kids left because there's going to be these programs.
Well, the rumor has it, Louis, is that the soup kitchen in Fredericton is the best scoops kitchen across the country.
Yeah.
I've been told many times there's a lot of transient people, especially in the summer when it's coming in. People are coming back. They are recommended. There's a guy who said, I had to stop, he said, because someone said that I had to eat here.
I hear that a lot from our guests.
Yeah.
And there was one guy last year, and he said, you got the best soup kitchen. I've been from coast to coast, and I've eaten in every place you can imagine. He said, this is the very best soup kitchen that I've ever been in. He said, except for Ottawa. And I went, okay, we're not in a competition. So I said, but chefs are. Yeah. So I said, well, I got to know why Ottawa. He said, well, because Ottawa is supported by one of the large hotels up there, and the executive chef hotel, he goes in there. So they have a lot of high-end material coming in that we don't have the access to. Plus, they get some money from the government, and we're not funded by the government. We get grants like everybody else, but we're totally independent by just people donating. So he said, so if you take that little part, okay, you guys are the best.
Look at this beautiful plate. I mean, this is what you can see down at the kitchen. It's simple, it's easy, it's comforting.
It's simple to make.
And that's the portion size, roughly, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it is. That's what you'd get, and you'd get that as many times as you can come up to the line and get it.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate that, Dave. Thank you very much.
There we go. Thanks for being on.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you.